Two Cowboys coaches, Frank Reich 2.0, some salary cap news, and compensatory pick updates. My name is Liam Jenkins, and this is the first episode ever of Inside the Nest. Welcome. Oh, I'm sure you've all seen This Week in Philadelphia Sports and how much of a train wreck that can be at times. This is that show on steroids for the next couple of weeks, because as we know, the Eagles' search for a head coach is moving at the speed of sound. For someone who's got a broken body clock and spends most of his day in bed and most of his night writing articles, this is a nightmare, because I have no idea what's going on and I'm left playing catch up. And I'm sure many of you with 9-to-5 jobs who are full-time parents or whatever it may be are also having trouble, unless you're on the naughty stuff, in which case it's probably very easy for you. However, because it's so difficult, what I wanted to do was make sure you guys had something to round up all the information, something digestible, something that goes through all of it in bite-sized chicken nuggets of information, and that's what we're going to do today. So let's start off with the big news. The Eagles did interview current Cowboys offensive coordinator KELLEN more, and it's easy to see why they would be interested. The former Boise State quarterback is, of course, a former quarterback and has been with the Cowboys now for 2 seasons. His first year was pretty good. Second year, absolutely ruined by injury, so we can't put too much stock into it. But he did just sign a 3-year deal this past offseason with the Cowboys. And if Mike McCarthy's job is unstable and next year there is an opening, it's hard to believe he wouldn't be a leading candidate for the role. So maybe he wants to stay in Dallas and build that long-term future. But you can't really blame the Eagles for continuing to look for former quarterbacks, because that's where Carson Wentz worked best. You look at John DeFilippo, Frank Reich, Doug Peterson, the Eagles surrounded him with former quarterbacking talent. And if that's the aim, if they want to fix Carson Wentz, then I feel like a guy like KELLEN Moore could be the sort of person they're looking at here. However, he wasn't the only man they looked at. They also interviewed coach John FASSEL, who currently works with the Cowboys special teams unit, where somehow his unit ranked inside the top 10 for 5 years in a row before a couple of down years that led him to Dallas. Now, he's pushed the Dallas group back into the top 10, but while I understand that move and that he's obviously a rapid rising special teams coach, he's the son of a former NFL coach himself, I can't help but feel that if you hire him, it's somewhat of a slight to Dave Phipp, who has also done pretty good with the Eagles special teams. Now, notably in the last couple of years, they haven't been fantastic, but some of the production that has come out of that unit and the players it brought through, you're looking at Alex Singleton, Boston Scott, TJ Edwards, just to name a few of players that have really earned their reputation on that unit and then graduated up to offense and defensive snaps. So even though the special teams unit has been down, I can't feel that that's a bit of it's a punch in the gut to Dave Phipp, who's long been regarded as one of the top coaches. I'm not a big fan of that, and it's a bit too much going on in Dallas for my liking. I'd cut that out right now. Next up is offensive coordinator from the Indianapolis Colts, Nick Sirianni, and I'm really worried about recording this because somehow my phone, my Mac, and my HomePod are all going to kick off thinking I'm saying the S word. I can't say it because it's all going to kick off notification-wise. But this is an interesting one. He's been with the Colts for 3 years. He joined during Andrew Luck's fabled last season, and since then, his offense has ranked 10th, 9th, and 12th respectively, which is pretty good. He's also worked as a quarterback coach and a wide receiver coach throughout his coaching career. Majority of those roles were filled with the Chargers, which means he's worked with Phillip Rivers, who he later reunited with in Indianapolis, and although he looked a little bit shy at times, did pretty good with them, let's be honest. So this is someone that has helped Phillip Rivers during 2014 and 15 put 2 of his best seasons up, then works with him with the Colts. It's a similar system. Obviously, Frank Reich and Doug Peterson run very similar offenses. You can't help but feel, though, that this is Doug Peterson 2.0, that they can't get Frank Reich, so they've gone, well, let's just get Frank Reich 2.0, the baby version, which is sort of what they did with Peterson and Andy Reid after regrettingly letting Big Red go to Kansas City. They just poached his number 2. So I fully get that. I think that this is very much a hand-in-a-glove fit, but is it the right one? It's probably the best of the offensive candidates there. It's certainly more appealing than Josh McDaniels, in my opinion. But But the fun doesn't end there, because Jason Lackenfora has tweeted out that apparently Saints defensive coordinator Dennis Allen will be interviewing with the team on Wednesday, which means that Saints defensive coordinator Dennis Allen will not be interviewing with the team on Wednesday. Allen has been with the Saints for 5 years now, and since then has just really helped develop that defense into becoming one of the most consistently dominant in the NFL. It's hard to ignore the development of young talent across the board, from the defensive line to the cornerbacks, and whatever a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is who continues to think he's playing WWE SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. But alas, let's not forget they had a 55-game streak of a 100-plus yard rusher not being allowed until Jalen Hurts broke it this past season. I like the idea of Dennis Allen. If you want to look for a defensive mastermind, I think with Robert Saleh now gone, this kind of has to be the guy. This is the cream of the crop, and I get the Saints crumbled in the playoffs again, and it brings us all some sort of joy. But in terms of building a defense, I think you look at the progression that the Saints have had over the last few years, and the way that, more importantly, their draft picks haven't turned out to be absolute wastes, and I think you have to see the appeal here. In other news, bad news for compensatory picks, because the Eagles, who were projected to have 10 picks, will now have 8. They will not get selections from the Ronald Darby loss or the Cameron Grugier-Hill loss, so that's good for a rebuilding team, actually. That's what we want. I don't want to talk about it. But it's not all bad, because Pro Football Talk reported that the current salary cap picture is expected to be around $180 million. Now, for the Eagles, that would mean an increase, which also means their salary cap debt, currently sitting at around $70 million, would be sliced to 40. Like Fruit Ninja. We're talking sliced down to 40. Just like that. Pretty good. I think the Eagles can much more easily navigate their way out of a $40 million cap deficit when you've got Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, potentially Derek Barnett, Malik Jackson. There are a few guys you could easily chop into there to bring that right down. I think they can all breathe a sigh of relief. They can wipe the sweat from their foreheads and focus on the 87,000 candidates currently interviewing for the head coach position. If you want the full list, it looks a little bit like this. Obviously, Saleh, Smith, and Staley have all been hired. I was pretty high on Staley. Bowles has interviewed. Jared Mayo is still in the conversation. I really like Joe Brady. I can't see them landing Kellen Moore. We know that Josh McDaniels is still apparently in the facility, now up to the 395th hour of his interview, and if the team want Eric Bieniemy or want to take a punt on even getting him, they've got to wait until the Chiefs' playoff run comes to an end, which may not be for a little while just yet. They really are walking quite the wobbling tightrope here. But what do you think, guys? Let me know down in the comment section below. From myself, Liam Jenkins, I hope you have enjoyed what has been a slightly different video to try and recap all of the news, as there is so much going on right now. I try and bring you one of these every single day. If you want to follow me on Twitter at Liam Jenkins PSN, I'll see you soon.